Hello everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. It is time for your Friday recap, folks. And joining me today to digest everything that has happened in the world of NFTs this past week, we have the one and only akaStevey, Culture and Community Lead for Proof. I wanted to get that in the right order. Culture and Community Lead for Proof. And of course, also Gavin Purcell, our one and only Fonky Donk. Welcome to you both. Stevie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I've always loved your show. It's obviously a standard in the space, so I'm so happy to be here. And then Gavin, when I heard that he came onto your team, made me so happy because we've had some fun times on spaces doing some weird spaces, and it's been so much fun to just get to know you and to talk a little DGen with you too. So I'm happy to be here.
Love it. We've wanted to have you on. We've been talking about having you on the show for, I feel like, a while now, Gavin. I've been like, we need to have Stevie on. We need to have Stevie on. And then this was the perfect week because lots of news out of Proof, which we are, of course, going to talk about. Before we kick off everything, though, a couple announcements, things I've been saying before. So if you've been listening to the show regularly recently, you know this stuff, but I got to say it again anyways. Really excited for our upcoming Overpriced Happy Hour event, which is going to be during Consensus in Austin, April 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. We are sitting down, and by we, I mean me. I am sitting down with Daniel Allegre, new CEO of Yuga Labs. That will be live. Anybody who is an OPJ NFT holder or a Yuga asset holder can go to opjtour.com right now and reserve their seat to attend that event. It's free if you have those tokens. So come by, open bar, fun hang, light bites, and of course you get to meet Daniel and myself and have a good time. It'll be good vibes. So that's the first announcement. Second announcement I'll say, I keep saying this, we are hopefully bottling the overpriced gin over the next 7 days. So we are, I keep saying, tantalizingly close for folks to be able to redeem their gin if you are an OPJ NFT holder. And then lastly, of course, I have to talk about Overpriced JPEGs Pro, which we have on our newsletter side. We updated our monthly rankings, our top 10 NFT projects. Proof had some positive movement, I will say, moved up in the rankings this month. We have an awesome council of about 15 people who work across the NFT space or are serious participants in the NFT space who help us basically craft those rankings. And so you can check that out on the Overpriced JPEG Substack. Whew, okay, with all those admin notes out of the way, we are going to get to the show. Though we do need to hear a word first from our lovely sponsors. Y'all know I think one of the most powerful use cases for NFTs are loyalty programs, which is why I'm so excited about our latest partner, GALXE. That's GALXE. GALXE is a leading platform for building a Web3 community. It is a no-code, plug-and-play solution to create task-based campaigns and loyalty programs. With over 67 million users, GALXE has worked with folks like Optimism, Polygon, Arbitrum, and more than 2,100 other partners with reward-based loyalty programs of their own. And I'm especially excited to announce their latest product offering, GALXE Mint List. Mint List enables NFT projects to issue allow lists based on different user profiles. It's free to use, and projects can then take advantage of GALXE's other offerings, like Task Conquest, which incentivize audience growth and user retention in the long term. Go beyond the mint and keep using GALXE's infrastructure to reward users through on and off-chain actions. GALXE's goal is to help projects grow in an authentic way and help them retain their users and communities over the long haul. And as a user, you can start contributing to your favorite Web3 communities today, joining allow lists through Mint List and earning rewards, NFTs, oats, tokens, and points. Go to galaxy.com right now, that's GALXE.com right now, or click the link in the show notes to get started. Your Web3 community is waiting. I am so excited to announce that this year, Overpriced JPEGs has partnered with OpenSea, the world's leading NFT marketplace, built for everyone, creators, collectors, noobs, and experts alike. I'm an OpenSea user because they have the best selection of NFTs and a truly inclusive view of the ecosystem, supporting 8 chains and 8 global languages. I trust the systems they've put in place to keep the space safe, like copyright protection, malicious URL detection and removal, robust verification, and more. It's why they are the place to buy, sell, and create NFTs. That's right. You know OpenSea, you use OpenSea, but did you know that OpenSea now has drops? New exclusive projects launch every week from top projects and creators, and you can check them out now using the link in the show notes. They also recently introduced self-serve drops, which is in beta, and allows creators to launch their projects right on OpenSea. This drops product gives creators access to tools like rich storytelling drop pages, multi-chain support, and drop mechanic customization. The full launch for self-serve drops is coming this spring. So check out the upcoming drops on OpenSea right now using the link in the show notes and own what moves you. You'll also be supporting the show in the process. All right, Stevie, for your first time on Overpriced JPEGs, but the way we usually kick these off is just vibes check. How are you feeling? How are you feeling as a market participant, as a project participant these days? What's going on?
I'm actually still feeling the highs from NFT NYC. You know, there's something like literally like magical about being able to see people in real life, like, and be able to have those connections and to be able to put names to, you know, cartoon JPEGs. It's always so fun. And especially if you've never been to one of our proof events and you get to come and really kind of see that magic. It's so great. And we had so many. I think we had like 35 events. No, I'm kidding. We had like
but it was like
4 or 5.
Yeah.
It was a packed week.
Yeah. I was gonna say proof went hard. I was like, all that proof of conference money going somewhere. You know what I mean? Like throwing it at NFT NYC. It was awesome.
We pivot. You know?
You're like, don't worry, don't you worry. We, I mean, obviously the big event, and we'll talk about this. We're going to talk a lot about proof, and because you've had a bunch of stuff come out in the last week, including, you know, a bunch of cool things at NFT NYC. So we'll talk about this more at the end. But you guys obviously had your Beeple event, which was super cool, and then we'll also talk about Beeple, I think, in this show because he's sort of connected to some of the stuff happening with Pepe. And but I went to your event with Transient Labs. The apps were so good. They had like, you know, past appetizers and drinks. And I was like, this is how to do an event. Really good past apps. Really can just...
The market can't be so bad. The market can't be so bad if the apps are good, right?
If the past apps are on point, who cares that my JPEGs are down 95% from their highs?
Right? Maggie is our events director. She always has the best food, best cocktails, always takes care of everybody who comes through. And so I'm glad that you could appreciate it and love it. That's awesome.
Priorities in the right place. I really appreciate that. I'm definitely the person who shows up at the party and like just scans for the food table. And it's like, you know, like you say a couple hellos and then you're like beelining it. Okay. So love that you're riding those highs. Of course.
Yes.
The market riding some lows.
I feel like everyone like went to New York and had these like amazing magical moments of meeting people and feeling like there's something bigger to the space and Web3 is amazing and it's awesome. And then the people who stayed home just degened the hell out of everything, but not NFTs, unfortunately. They just went and found other things. But I'm happy for everybody, you know?
No, I think that's true. I mean, crypto, again, we've got the Shanghai update is now officially in place, so folks can withdraw staked ETH. I think, you know, ETH is actually pumped as a result of that. Seems like maybe folks realizing now that they can, if they stake, they can take the ETH out. I don't know if this is true. I don't have data on this, but like led more people to stake. You know, there's concern that like once you can pull your ETH out, is ETH going to tank because people can pull their ETH out and sell it. That doesn't seem to be what happened at all. In fact, I think it just gave people more confidence in ETH as an asset. And so crypto continues to do well. And then you have these random ass, you know, shit coins, meme coins that we're going to talk about. Pepe, Wojak being another one we'll talk about, where it seems to be where all the activity is happening and our poor JPEGs are just left on the side of the road. I mean, even Nakamigos, who we've been talking about week over week, because it has just really, in some ways, gone from strength to strength, is way down. I mean, it's, you know, whatever, back to 0.3, even lower than that, I think, from our highs. Gavin, how are you feeling?
Well, okay, it's interesting to talk about this because I think part of this, you know, I'm not saying I'm a crypto historian, but obviously there are patterns you can watch in the crypto history. And one of the things, a good friend of mine is I wouldn't say a crypto historian, but somebody who's been in the market for like about as long as Bitcoin's been around and talks about the normal rotation and ups and downs of coins, right? And the normal rotation always goes, you know, crypto pumps, meaning BTC, and then it comes down to ETH and ETH pumps, and then some alts pump along with other markets, including sometimes shitcoins, which we'll get into as well. And then it trickles back down to NFTs. And the hard part in the NFT world is being at the very, very bottom of that chart,
funnel.
Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Because, and the tricky thing is, well, it's funny, Carly and I were talking about this, Stevie, because we're probably going to write something soon for our newsletter, which is kind of about how I think we're close to a bottom, if not at bottom. And there's some signals about that, right? About seeing that stuff. And one of the biggest things is capitulation, right? And seeing like who's leaving right now, like who are the people that are gone. And like Carly made a great point, which is like, if you're still here right now after what the prices are, you're probably stuck. You're not stuck's the wrong word. You're probably hanging out. You're probably hanging out for a while. And I think that the interesting thing is, like, the one thing I'll say about the Pepe stuff, which I know we're going to get into and the shitcoins taking off, is that it means there is money in degenerates' hands still. And I think that the Nakamigos price, all the prices of NFTs, my theory, and again, you can't prove this necessarily, but it is all people chasing those things, right? The degenerates who still drive our market 100%, no matter what we all wish in some ways that we would have, like high level, art-loving people being the ones that introduce themselves to NFTs. The trading degenerates are the ones that drive the market, and they have all fled to try to chase Pepe, Wojak, Herald, all these coins that are coming up. Half of them are coming and crashing, but the gains that people made from Pepe will convince people for the next week or two, until enough people get hurt, that that's where they're going to make money, and all of their liquid will go there. And I think that's why the NFTs are kind of bottoming it right now.
Down right now.
Yeah.
So let's. I'll give the bad news and then maybe the good news, which you were starting to get to, Gavin. So I think the bad news is volumes are low. Like this past week, we hit all-time low on volume, essentially across the board. I think we're basically only saved, as we've been for a little while here, by like blur trading. But like referring to that as like saving us is sort of a weird dynamic, because it's so fake, you know what I mean? Like there's not a lot, like it's
what
like,
giveth also
it's very cold
away.
Comfort, like like three blur guys trading the same NFTs back and forth while they ride them down from like highs to lows is not exactly like what makes me feel good.
And two less, right? Two big ones.
Yeah. There were like 5 of them, and now there's 3 of them. But aside from that, I mean, OpenSea is having its lowest volume of like in the last 20 months, I think was the stat I was looking at.
Right?
Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I think this was actually, I believe this was a NFT stats. This is Sam from Proof was saying something about this or posting something about this. So it's like, we're kind of down bad on the volume side. Prices, of course, are down really bad. I mean, it's interesting to look at something like a Punks and an Apes, which I feel like are the stalwarts of the industry, or the, like, we were joking earlier, Gavin, like if apes sneeze, the whole industry gets a cold. It's like that kind of dynamic. Yeah. And, Punks had held so steady in the 60s for like a year and are now trading down at 50. Yeah. So it's bleak.
Yeah.
And yet the good news maybe is exactly what you're saying, Gavin, which I think there's a very good case to be made, which is that we are in or very close to what the bottom will be. And I think getting us into the next thing we'll talk about here, which is the Franklin Machi situation, to me is a proof point of that. And it's exactly what you're saying, Gavin, which is like Franklin leaves, Machi leaves, like big figures in the space leave. Everything's down the worst it's been. Volume is as low as it's ever been. If you're still around in a month, right? Like anybody who's going to leave is going to get flushed out, it feels like, in the next month or so. And in a month, anybody who's still here is kind of here, right? And is probably going to hold, which is when prices can start to rise back up, right? Because you've flushed out any extra whatever that's happened. I don't know. What do you think about that, Stevie? And have you been following the Franklin Machi stuff at all?
Of course. I mean, Franklin is like a staple in our whole ecosystem, and it is really wild. No matter what you think about him, it's wild that he's gone. He deleted his Twitter profile. I've been seeing all those like screenshots of his Twitter profile being gone, and it's like somebody died. It's wild. It is. And it's also wild seeing some of the people who've been like, B-tier whales, and these sort of like blur farmers trying to maybe take on, these empty slots, right?
Oh, interesting.
And I think, definitely you're starting to see some people, because they're like, Franklin used to save the BAYC floor at like around 50. Is someone going to pick that up? And it seems like there are some people who are like wanting to step up and maybe take on that role. And so I think NFT Twitter tends to be very like advantageous. Like the people who are there are always going to be shooting their shot for whatever, for the market share of attention or clout or whatever. And so I think that, potentially maybe making a giant bag off of these shit coins and then bringing it back into NFTs and potentially being, that new whale could probably be very attractive to people. And so I think what I'm trying to see is how many people are going to, sort of claim that they are going to come back and save NFTs, right? Or at least make NFTs after this.
It's a really
interesting. That's
point.
something I hadn't thought about that before, but like that idea of the ego hole that is left by Franklin leaving and Machi, right? Like there is like this kind of like position in this space, like there is in any kind of culture or sports or whatever, where there's like stars, right? And like if you're a star, you get all this attention. And Franklin definitely was somebody who got a lot of attention and courted it, right? Like Franklin used to do those dumb tweets where he would talk about the flips he would make, and he would make like 0.001 or 0.01 on a flip of an ape really fast or something like that. He would do dumb stuff like this because he wanted attention, right? And that's an interesting thing. I have to say I was impressed in some ways that Franklin, you know, it does sounds crazy, but like there's a lot of people who don't have like great moral fiber in this space, right? Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of people who don't have great moral fiber.
In NFT, in crypto?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Color me shocked.
And I don't know the whole story behind the Franklin thing, but like I have to say, like there's other people who have just gone, who have just like disappeared and no one knows. At least you kind of got the story that he admitted he screwed up, right? Like, and we don't know how he screwed up, but like he himself, he said he got scammed for 2,000 ETH, which is, we don't really know the whole story there, but he also said he lost 650 ETH gambling on Rollbit, which I know a lot of people gambling. By the way, this is all gambling, and just so everybody's clear, if you're buying and selling NFTs, you should know this is gambling, unless you're just very wealthy and you're buying for the art and you're putting away and that's fine. Rollbit is gambling, straight up gambling. In fact, I know people who, I think you can bet on rock, paper, scissors on that. And like, it is like crazy. And so the hard thing about gambling, if you don't know, if you haven't had gamblers in your life or people who have had issues with it, is it's serious if you have an issue, right? And it is very easy to fall down a hole, and admitting that is hard. And I appreciate the fact that like maybe this is his way to get a fresh start in some way of his life. And I hope he's fine financially on his own. I'm assuming he is if he was spending this much money on JPEGs, but it's just a cool thing to see at least somebody coming out and like admitting they made a mistake, I think.
Yeah. I've always sort of had a positive impression of Franklin relative to other like a Machi who we can get into, who obviously I think is full grifter and has really earned his wealth very immorally, and continues to kind of be immoral. And I've never had that sense of Franklin. I totally agree with you, Gavin. I mean, there's a lot of like armchair psychology happening about like gambling addiction and this and that because of what he's saying. And you never know somebody's story. It is obviously the same type of personality that becomes an overnight millionaire through trading these kinds of things and making big bets, is also the kind of personality that loses a fortune. One thing overnight, which, or at least slowly, which it seems like maybe has happened here. Again, we obviously don't know his situation. One thing that was really interesting is somebody posted a thread. Somebody had interviewed Franklin like 8 months ago and posted a thread sort of with clips and highlights from that interview. And one thing that was really interesting, and this was 8 months ago, but he apparently was like a rocket scientist. Like he was an engineer, and
I think he still is,
and kept his job. That's what I was gonna say, Stevie. Is at least as of the last update on this thread, he apparently was still working a day job as an engineer.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things,
because I don't think he ever cashed out. He never cashed out. So he still needs a day job to pay the bills. And then he's just sort of, and he said, I think I was on a Spaces recently where he said like, people don't even know what he does at work. Like, and with like work from home, you can be on a meeting and then kind of do whatever you have to do. And so no one even knows who he is at all. So he's
he is doxxed. I've seen pictures of him in real life, right?
Oh,
so it's not
like, But his coworkers just don't know that he's Franklin. Franklin.
Is it? Okay, it actually is Franklin.
But they just don't know that he does that. That's all. We know who he is. You could probably find him. You could probably tell his coworkers if you wanted to. But and nobody cares.
That makes sense.
It's just wild.
By the way, I've never said this to anybody who's listening. Franklin was a Bored Ape Yacht Club whale. I think was in Bored Apes very early, and then was kind of like the guy who was representative of outside of a couple people if Bored Apes kind of community. I think he had a gold ape as his PFP and was really active in showing off. Not showing off's the wrong word. Kind of showing off in the Twitter ecosystem. Just so he's been somebody that's like been part of the Bored Ape community for a very long time.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I would be kind of shocked if he never came back. I mean, honestly, I would be happy for him if he never came back and he like went off.
You've gotten out. You're out.
Yeah, like you're just permanently touching grass somewhere. I hope you've got like 1,000 ETH somewhere still stored away and like go have a happy life, But man, this, whether it's like addiction with a capital A, clinical, or it's just like all of us are in some level addicted to this thing. You know what I mean? Like whether you're refreshing Twitter all the time, like really cutting yourself off from this permanently when it's become such a part of your identity and your lifestyle is hard. I mean, not that I've tried to do it, but I imagine it's quite hard.
I mean, I started, I entered into the space, participating in it heavily, collecting a lot of stuff and trading and all of those things. And there was like a point where I was talking to my friends, especially as like the bear started. And we were just like, man, if we had just sold this at this and this at this, we could have just like gone and left. And then we were like, who are we kidding? We're never leaving, But then the bear starts getting worse and worse. And we were like, we have to get out of here. We're like, we have to find a way. I mean, working in this space is different, but like the constant trading and this idea. And it's like, we have to find like, what is our actual goal to make? And then just stop and just take the money, cash it out and just stop. Right. Because it becomes, it's so hard to feel like, okay, am I going to do this for 10, 5?
Yeah.
Actively trading is different than just like collecting, coming back and just seeing what happens.
Totally.
But like, are you going to be on Spaces for the next 5, 10 years? I don't know, right?
Well, and it is, I think your point there of like, just pick a number and kind of stick to it is so important. Like that's the strategy you're supposed to bring into casinos, right? Like when you go to a casino, it's like, I'm going to spend $500. I'm going to assume I'm going to lose that 500 and then refuse to spend above that. Like that's sort of the strategy if you're going to gamble. The other thing is it reminds me of, my dad was a commodities trader for many years when I was growing up. So he, lived a trader's life. And so now, here I am. And his phrase, which I've said on the show many times because I think it's so good. He's like, bears make money, bulls make money, pigs get slaughtered. Like you gotta, if you just are, if you're so obsessed with hitting the high, hitting the low, it's going to keep going up or like you're going to get slaughtered. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. And it's words to live by.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a show title. We got a show title now.
There we go. Okay, let's just as we wrap up this section, I think there's a couple other people to talk about. I mean, we'll get to Machi. Maybe we'll close the section out with Machi. But Jimmy had to sell a bunch of apes really at a loss. He didn't have any floor apes, so he had to sell all these like mid-low apes.
I feel like mid-rares are so weird now. Like it's a bummer because one of the coolest things about NFTs, we talked about this with Nakamigos a little bit, how people were actually buying mid-rares, but like because of Blur, nobody buys mid-rares anymore. And it's definitely screwed up, in my mind, some of the art aspects of NFTs because it basically makes a huge aspect of what's interesting about a big chunk of NFT collections not interesting to people. So, I mean, the good news is if you want an ape, you can go get a really cool one. I think I saw like a rainbow grill. I'm not a big ape person myself, but people love like the rainbow grill or they like certain, and you can get them at the price of a floor price, which is a pretty cool thing if you're really a big fan.
If you're a fan of like collecting it for the sake of the art. Yeah. So, and Jimmy, well, apparently he was selling because he needed to get liquidity for tax time. He was like, the tax man cometh, I think was his tweet. So, and he was selling, and then one of them immediately, he basically sold it and immediately had an offer like 9 ETH higher than he had sold it for. So like he definitely, it was a bummer. He definitely missed some opportunities by having to essentially panic sell for tax time.
Yeah. I think this trend that started with OSF and Mando of just, immediately liquidating. Like it's got to feel really good though. You know what I mean? Like I think that's probably because I'm thinking like, why didn't he just like slowly list them a little bit higher than the floor and like do whatever? But like, it's got to feel really good to just press that eject button and then immediately have all that ETH in your wallet. No matter
I don't know.
what, right?
I think Jimmy doesn't feel good. My sense is, well, again, this happened like 3 days ago and the tax deadline was Tuesday. So my guess is Jimmy found out on Monday what he owed the IRS and was like having to panic sell. Like I think what was so great about, like for like Mando and that sale was it was at high, like these apes were at like 72 ETH. It was before they'd sort of like really crashed down. So they were selling into a bid wall that was high. That's gotta feel good. I'm totally with you, like these patient sellers. But I feel like what's happened now, and this is again something Sam on y'all's team has talked a lot about, right, is like anybody who are these patient sellers have now sold into the people who are the flipper, who are Blur farming. And that's when I think that's when you sort of just ride this shit down, right? Because it was one thing when the people who are participating in Blur, you still had some people who were like actual long-term holders or like interested in these projects. But those people have basically now sold into the people who are putting up the bid walls to flip. And then they want to get rid of, they need some level of liquidity. So then they just sell it down. And it's, you know, that's sort of been the descent into where we are now, I think. So I don't know. I think Jimmy probably was having some stomach aching over it, but he still has a bunch of apes and his like higher rarity ones. And I'm not crying too hard for Jimmy. Okay, Machi is the other one who, although this seems less real to me. The tweet was, I'm out of NFTs for real. FR. So,
I think he,
so
I
like,
looked into this. Yeah. I think he might be just farming attention right here.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
He's going to reincarnate. He's going to come back as like Beanie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
What if it was all part of the same character plan? This would make NFTs so clear. What are your thoughts on Machi in general? Like, are you deep? Do you understand his like background and everything?
Oh, yes, I do know. And it is really wild to me. I think that the people in this space are just attracted to people who have big bags regardless, right? Like, I think that there's something about a whale, regardless of how they got their money, that people are just attracted to. I think that people have like such a tiny attention span in general that there's a lot of people who don't know where Machi got his money from. And there's a lot of people, even with whatever's going on with DeFi Apes, which is his other project, which is like clearly being, you know, manipulated. Yeah. I think people are just sort of like, who cares? Like, he's talking to me or he's giving me attention or he could potentially, you know, sweep my floor or whatever. So maybe I'll kind of be attracted to him. So that's the like, you know, just bottom of the barrel type of holder and player in this game. But it's still a huge chunk of people who are interested in that. Like, they're just attracted to wealth in one way or the other. So it's unfortunate, but I don't think that there's going to be a time where the entire space decides that they don't want to play, you know?
So I want to ask a follow-up to that, Stevie, but Carly, I also need to call out, I know, I need to call out the elephant in the room, which is that if you're watching this on YouTube, my camera has gone out. This is going to be a recurring theme for episodes you're going to see recently, because I've recorded like 3 episodes in the last 24 hours, and this has been a chronic theme. If you're listening on audio, you can ignore what I'm about to say. Every time I stand up to fix my camera, that's when the camera comes back. So usually it comes back faster than right now. Anyways, this is going to be a new drinking game on Overpriced JPEGs. If you are watching on YouTube, please take a shot of Overpriced gin. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have that yet. But take a shot every time my camera goes out. God damn, this is so annoying. Okay, well, I'm going to, now that this is actually really persisting, I'm going to go have to futz with my camera. But I will throw it to you, Stevie. Do you want to give folks the TLDR on Machi's background for anybody who hasn't followed it and just like, you know, his kind of reputation?
Sure. As far as I know, he has sort of rugged a number of projects. I think NFT projects as well as DeFi coin projects, right? He launched a few. That
was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah,
that was
the invisible
wild.
lady.
Yeah, there she is. Nice. So he's rugged a few tokens and just, you know, gotten away with, I think, thousands of ETH, right? That's all I really know. I don't know any actual like specifics of the coins, but that's what I know.
Yeah. I'll fill in some color here too, which is he was like big in the hip hop rap scene in Taiwan. He was a part of a like a I don't want to say boy band, but he was part of some like group that was like middling popular in the 90s as like a hip hop Taiwanese hip hop group, and then started a label.
He was in a movie too.
Oh, probably like
kind
of weird celebrity, like niche celebrity figure in Taiwan. And then
so we're saying this is like the Lance Bass of NFTs. Is that what you're saying? Maybe the Joey Fatone. I don't know what to figure.
Yeah, something like that. You know?
Yeah.
But then started a label that actually was kind of successful and had like a very popular, and then pivoted and had like a popular app in Taiwan that was apparently supposed to IPO in the States. I was like doing a bunch of digging on him because I just was like interested in all this. Anyway, you know, just lots of weird shit like that. But there always ends up being like there's smoke, right? Like all of his shit, like the company of his that was supposed to IPO, they were at the stock exchange, they rang the bell, and then it got postponed. Their IPO got postponed, and then just like never happened. You know what I mean? You're like,
he rugged the stock
they
exchange?
rang the bell. He like rang the bell at the stock exchange, and it was supposed to like, and then it got like postponed same day. Like, and you're like, what? It's and I'm sure there's people who could explain to you why, but my point is just like, it's that over and over again. And then he gets into crypto kind of early, and his MO has always been like, and he's usually a non, but people usually know he's involved. And then it's like the same 3 Goonies that he has. And they're always, they would fork popular protocols, just like over and over again. They forked Tornado Cash. What else? They forked Compound. Like they would just fork protocols, stand up their own version that was shitty. But grow it to have these like huge TVLs, like, or TLVs. Like you'd have a bunch of money in these protocols, and then no, wait, here, sorry. Last piece of this is he embezzled he and others embezzled 22,000 ETH. This was the big thing. He started Formosa Finance. He started like basically like a crypto hedge fundy, whatever the fuck kind of a thing, and they raised 44,000 ETH for this thing in like 2020. And then they claimed 22,000 had been stolen from them, but they were the ones who stole it. And so his take of that 22,000 was 11,000 ETH. So I think that's as far as I could see, like the start of his wealth was just straight up embezzling it from investors. Like they literally raise this money from investors. He embezzles it and then just proceeds to, just then fork all these other protocols and continue to rug them and like, wild.
It kind of goes to show you, like, one thing. I mean, again, I probably am trying to take a moral high ground here, but like, kind of know who your heroes are a little bit. Like, kind of be aware of like who you're giving shine to, right? Who are the people that you're actually saying this person is somebody I think is admirable, and I'm going to kind of talk them up, because that's what this whole space lives on, is people being talked up, and that's what Machi lives on. He loves to be talked up, and also he loves to be the villain, I think, as well too, which is a slight different. Like it's that one of those type of people who loves to be like the bad guy, the bad boy, but like either way, if you starve those people of attention, they start to wither and die, right? So like I think just I'll say one last thing, that I did a huge shout out to...
Good thing we didn't just spend the last 10 minutes talking about it.
You just made him stronger.
Good thing we're really playing our part, starving him of the attention that he so craves.
I was going to say, go read Zach XBT's threads about Machi, because Zach XBT should get attention in this space, because he's somebody who's out there showing people that are doing this sort of thing. And I think we have to have people like that in order to make the space mature and grow up. But that's where you can learn a lot about what he's done. And you search on Twitter, Zach XBT and Machi, and you'll see his stuff.
I wanted to hire Zach, and he wouldn't even talk to me. I mean, I'm saying that kind of as a joke, but I didn't have like a line to him because he wasn't following me or something. And I was like, because he had a post like a year ago being like, it's exhausting doing what I'm doing and I'm not being paid. And I was like, I'll throw this man money. Like does somebody keep this dude around? And but he was like, I'm not interested in any of that. I really respect him. He's very independent. Okay, anyways, so that's that. I mean, again, just kind of like weird times in the space. I do think it could be a bottom. The last bit of bad news I want us to get to before we get to our main story, PEPE and Proof, is this hack. This very, again, we'll get all the bad news out here up front. What the hell? I don't even really understand it. I mean, I can certainly give the overview, which is basically that I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but like millions of dollars of ETH have been drained.
5,000 plus ETH since December 2022 is what they're saying.
Okay, so this has been this like slow burn, it appears. Like somebody is discovered that there is a hacker who follows, or a group of hackers. We don't have any idea who these person or people are, right? But who have basically been slowly draining and methodically draining wallets over the past 6 or 7 months. And what's so unnerving and interesting about this is, we have very little information about how it's being done, but it is targeting, apparently, like primarily OGs. It's all people who have wallets between 2014 and 2022. It's people who are sophisticated. This was not like some scammy website that somebody clicked. And it sort of feels like, like the ghost haunting the house, where it's like nobody knows where it is. Like it's like nobody knows how it's happening. Apparently even hardware wallets in some cases aren't safe, which I really don't understand that at all.
Wow.
I was texting somebody today being like, is that true? Because somebody was saying that. I'm like, I can't wrap my brain around that one at all. Like, even if it seems like seed phrases are involved in this, like they must have gotten like a cache of data that contains seed phrases, like people storing them in the cloud or like whatever. But I still don't know how you hack a hardware wallet that way. So it's possible that's cap or whatever. But point being, it's bad out there.
So I saw the thread and I read a little bit about it, but are you saying that like the people were getting hacked without clicking anything, or
I think so. Like what we don't know where it's come from. So like, is it possible that a bunch of people had clicked something at some point? I guess so. Yeah. But the nature of the people that are being targeted and the volume of this, it seems like it's more like people have actually gotten the seed phrases is more what it's looking like. And the recommendations have been like, don't keep all your assets, like have multiple wallets. Like, but not even, because, you know, like my ledger is still connected to sort of my same main wallet, which I almost like don't even want to say publicly, right? Like, you know, it's like create totally separate wallets with totally separate seed phrases. And I'm like, fucking hey, man, like this, like that, this is my biggest concern about Web3. I interviewed, oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Matt Sanders, who's the front man for Avenged Sevenfold the other day. The episode just came out. It's great. Matt's great. And we're talking about NFT ticketing and what he's doing with Ticketmaster. And my biggest thing is that I just don't want to connect my wallet to anything anymore. Like I feel like I can't, I feel like I've moved, as I've gotten more NFTs, my willingness to participate and use NFTs in like practical ways, the kinds of ways that I'm most excited about NFTs, has gone down because of this shit. I'm just like, it's become harder to just like operate in the world with my wallet as my NFTs bags grow. And that's really a problem to me that I'm assuming that we'll be able to tech our way out of at some point. But I'm thinking about like Matt said, I'm like, I would want, if I had my Death Bats Club, I'd want to have it in a hardware wallet, which would make it harder to connect on the Ticketmaster. Like, I don't know. It just feels, it's too fucking complicated. And this, so complicated. And now I'm being told I need to have 6 different seed phrases, you know, just to avoid being drained.
Yeah,
that's 72 words, cash. Folks. That's too many words.
Delegate Cash has been super, super helpful. And it's really cool to see people really kind of embrace that and everything that they're doing, you know, moving forward. And so, like, I hope that Delegate Cash makes things a little bit easier, in which that you can just have a shitty hot wallet and there's nothing in it, but it's delegated to all of your important things. So, like, there's that.
That's got to be the thing. We got to get there. I mean, and, you know, we've got the 4337. I always forget the EIP, the protocol, the account abstraction thing. Like, I do think that ends up being the solve for this stuff. So, again, I have not lost all hope, but it is
it's nerve-wracking.
It's gotten more complicated. Like, I honestly, I didn't think the UX was great when I first got into the space 2 years ago, but I'm like, I actually find it less good now.
How is it not improved? How is it not improved in 2 years? I signed up in January 2021 to MetaMask, and OpenSea was very different looking. It did not have a lot of great stuff on it. They've actually changed, which people give OpenSea a lot of shit, but like their front page has changed a lot since January 2021. You know what has not changed is MetaMask. Now, granted, there is some updates in the UI, but like in general, it's the same system, and that seems so weird. The thing I was going to say is, I think, Carly, you're 100% right. The biggest challenge, no matter what, across all of NFTs, including like things we just talked about, Ruggers, everybody else, the biggest challenge is going to be getting people to feel comfortable with having something that feels secure and is in their wallet or in their phone and that they can do things with, right? Because I feel secure. I don't know how this is the case, but I feel secure with having my bank card in my phone, and I tap it every day. I probably spend, I spend thousands of dollars a month on that. It's just living my life.
Big roller, yeah.
No, I don't mean it that way. I just I live in a family. This is like a normal thing. But exactly. But that's a lot of like trust in the system. Now, that's a system that's been around for, in some ways hundreds of years. It's the banking system, thousands of years maybe. But like we have to get to a point where if I felt like in my bank that I had a chance of like, if I scanned my phone at a convenience store, at a bodega,
baby. Apparently that's not safe either.
Well, yeah, but true. But I guess what I'm saying is like, if I was at a convenience store and I scanned my phone and that was a chance of getting my entire bank account drained, I would not use that app. I would definitely not use that app. And we're still here in this space doing that sort of thing, right? Which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
That happened to me a couple of months ago. I got, drained. Worst feeling ever. Feeling ever. It wasn't anything crazy. Thankfully, I did have a ledger and all of that stuff was there, but I had an oddity in there, and I had like a couple of things that were like just about 1 ETH. I think I might have lost, 3 or 4 ETH or something like that. It wasn't terrible, But, you know, since then, I like never want to click on any links.
Yeah.
It's especially on Twitter, because that's what happened. I was like in the middle of something. I got a tag on Twitter. It was like the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
It was just a tag on Twitter. It was a mint or a project that I was like super interested in.
That's how they get. That's how they
get you.
Yep.
And then I thought it was maybe somebody in my community who's tagging me because like, oh, I heard you talking about this. And I just, you know, didn't sign anything. It was one of those gasless, like weird things. And it just gets you. And now I'm like on Twitter, I have to double check, make sure it's like the actual, like, you know, team or whatever. Like I'm so paranoid now. Like, and it's not a safe place to onboard people.
Absolutely not. I was gonna say, by the way, I had that exact experience, but my experience was with Mechaverse, so it's kind of embarrassing. I was Mecha. If you don't remember, Mechaverse was like very hype.
Mecha was the hottest thing.
Yes. And so somebody got me on Discord. They got me on Discord. It was a Discord DM because at that time, I think Discord has gotten better for some reason. I don't know how, but Discord DMs are way less spammy than they used to be.
I feel like there's fewer people here. There's like less. There's like a smaller ROI probably.
The scammers are like, it's not worth it. Let's go over to AI.
Not much money anymore. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we can talk about this forever, but yeah, I was going to say that there's a new hack that's like, it looks like they invite you into a Discord, and you see people on the side that look like, you know, you're so important. I want to invite you to my private Discord. You come in and you see, you see Franklin is bored. You see all these people that you know, you can just change your name, on Discord. So if you double click on it, you'll see that they're not the actual person, but you see that on the side. And then they go, oh, we want to make sure you're in a blue chip. So verify. And it's a fake collab land. And so just be mindful. Like there are people out there just doing crazy things. It's not just DMs anymore.
Well, and this is why I also love token proof. And this is why we use token proof for all of our events. Cause like, I know personally, like I just don't do shit anymore. And I'm like, this is dumb. So like, that's why I love token proof. Cause I at least feel like I can do shit when it's with token proof. And,
we love token proof.
Love us some token proof. Last thing I'll say on this, and then let's truly finally move on. This episode I thought was maybe going to go short, and of course it's going to go long, which is these AI scams. Just like to flag for people, I don't know if you guys have been seeing this, but like, these AI voice changers, or like where people are calling family members and convincing them that their loved one has been kidnapped. I'm like literally going to tell both my parents about this today and be like, we're going to pick a safe word. And like, if you get a call in my voice, I don't know if he publicly said this. Somebody in the space who's a prominent artist-ish had this happen where his grandmother was called, and his grandmother and somebody was using his voice and telling his grandmother that, he was in trouble and needed money and da-da-da-da. And luckily she confirmed, checked, texted his mom, whatever it was, like didn't end up getting fully fished into it, but was like very close. And this was months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. So, but it feels like it's really ramping up. So it's pick a safe word with your family, folks.
And just by the way, one thing that everybody's got to be aware of is like we're entering a time where you have to, it sounds crazy, but you have to confirm if things are real, right? You're going to have to double check if things are real. There is no reality, and it's going to get crazier. And this space, it's a weird way to live as a human being. I was talking about this with my friend the other day, but when you're a human being and you don't know what's real, what's coming at you, we are all going to be living in a very strange place, right? Because like, and you all know the Pope picture that people got fooled by, like it was AI.
I was going to say.
It's this world where like everything in front of your face is not going to be real. And that's going to mean half or more of the people that you meet, I'll put it here, people are on social media are not going to be real. And that is an important thing for just to take in and burn into your brain. This is the way we're going now.
The cognitive dissonance, and what we should flag, Gavin, you have a podcast. Should we talk about AI for humans?
Sure, why not?
There's a great podcast that Gavin is doing with Kevin Pereira, right?
Yeah.
Is that his name? It's called AI for Humans. Yeah. You can check it out on YouTube, and they have an AI companion who in the first episode is like talking with them. And what's weird is the cognitive. It's so hard to hear somebody even who he sounds human. He sounds kind of robotic, but there's a realness there because he's speaking in language in a way we understand, and it's that weird having to really check yourself and be like, this isn't sentient. This isn't real. This is literally a large language model. Like it's already getting so weird. Like it's only going to get fucking weirder. Let me introduce you to a brand new company that I could not be more excited about. Web3 Sense. a Web3 analytics platform that combines on-chain data with social media insights to give you the deepest, most meaningful intelligence into any NFT community. I have tested other analytics platforms out there, but Web3 Sense has the most comprehensive capabilities I've seen in the NFT ecosystem. They apply sophisticated data science to wallet histories to determine behavioral patterns and help shape predictive analytics. In other words, they can tell you which Twitter accounts are actually the influencers in your space. And they can tell you what resonates most within a community by looking at what other communities' token holders are involved in. The number of use cases here is virtually unlimited. So whether you're a trader, creator, institution, brand, agency, I promise Web3 Sense has data that you want to see with the deep and actionable insights that you need to build, analyze, grow, start, whatever you want to do within the NFT space and in terms of building a business and a community. Now, they are still in very early days, so they're eager to connect with the community. So if you're interested in learning more about what Web3 Sense can do for you and your business, and you should be, go and fill out the very short form linked to in the show notes, and someone from their team will reach out with more information and an opportunity for a product demo. Trust me, you won't regret it. Let's move on to our main story. We're 41 minutes into this episode. Our main two stories, which are PEPE and Proof, our two Ps. PEPE coin taking the world, and by world, I mean our very weird fragment corner of the internet, by storm. I mean, God, what is it? It's like 120 million market cap now. I can't keep up with it. I mean, it's going up.
It's going up and coming down. But let me look at it while it's here. It is a pretty crazy thing. I mean, there are literally people who have now made entire
overnight
fortunes off this things in 5 days. Yeah, exactly. It's insane.
It ran up 21,000%.
Yeah.
So it launched Sunday. PEPE launched Sunday, and then has just been on an absolute tear. I mean,
it was programmed. PEPE, all of it, it's been programmed. Like, it really has. And I think it's like, it has both like the NFT world, because we've just been doing so much meme stuff recently. So it makes perfect sense why NFT people are into it. And then I think PEPE has just been a meme in general outside of NFTs forever. And so you can get those two like groups of people, like shitcoin traders and NFT people into it. It's game over. Plus, Miladies are involved somehow.
I know.
Well, first of all, the key here was that they got the $sign PEPE. How did they get that? How did they get the PEPE?
Well, so you know what's funny about that? The symbols, from what I know, and I'm just somebody who's like kind of like on the side, tried to do some shitcoin trading, not a lot, but like the symbols are not unique. You can get those $sign. You can, like, in fact, the thing I mentioned, I think I said earlier, there's a Herald coin, right? That came out last night. There have been like 12 of them, and they all are like Herald. Now, the actual name in that one was like, hide the pain, hide the pain Herald. But like, so the actual symbol can be PEPE, but there might be a slightly separate name for it. So it's not hard to get the symbols. You can relaunch them. It's not like a URL, I don't think, where only one person gets to hold it.
Yes. Well, that seems risky and bizarre, but we'll save that for another episode. That seems like a problem that we should not have, but okay.
Well, but it's shitcoins, the thing about PEPE, PEPE is so interesting because there have been PEPE coins before, right? This is not something that is brand new. I was going to say,
there can't not have been, right?
Yeah,
like, that would stun me.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I feel funny because I feel like we're this space that we're such contrarians, like not like Hollywood hacks, just like replaying the same, just like the 10th Fast and the Furious movie. I'm like, PEPE coin? You couldn't be more fucking original than PEPE coin. Just like take the most like memed degen weird dark origins to that too, if we're being honest. But okay, we've like moved past that,
super
right?
Dark origins, and
when I first got here, I was like, are we really doing this?
Are we really?
Weird?
Yeah. You know what? I think we've taken the sting out of it, which I kind of appreciate. Like, there's the people who have the perspective, because that all started on dark 4chan things and around the Trump era, like 2016 and whatever. And I feel like there's people who are like, we can't use it because it like gives them a win. And I'm like, we've so evolved past the weird origins of it and have like, so to me, I think we've taken the sting out of it. I don't know. That's how I want to treat it, because I don't want to give those folks a win. Anyways, so it's like, you take that and then just put it on a shitcoin. It's like the most obvious.
Yeah.
It's the version of Hollywood playing the 10th Fast and the Furious movie, because
that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
You know it's going to be a box office hit. I'm like, there's how.
Well, there's a couple things going on with this too, which are a little funky, I think. One is, and I will say this, I don't know this for a fact, but there were a couple early NFT shillers, Ryder Rips and Polly, both for shilling this.
Oh, why are we talking about that?
Who knows? who knows who's involved and who knows who put it, but like they were talking about it very early. Shitcoins are often very weird in terms of there often isn't the same sort of like need to like out the founders or to have a docs founder. I know that some NFT projects don't, but like shitcoins are created in a lot of ways with a much less staying power on purpose. Like people expect them to run up and then run down in some ways. So, but that existed. And then the other side of this is like, obviously you've got Matt Fury, who's most famous for the Pepe creation. And then you've got this other project, McPepe's, which was an AI project for Pepe's that launched a couple weeks ago, both of which, you know, this Pepe coin is kind of taking some of the art from and is using some of the stuff. So I think the tricky thing with this is like, just know this is a ride, super fun. You're going to get up there. And we've now reached like, okay, this is a movement. It's definitely something big. You know, like if it's gotten to 100 million market cap, that is not a flash in the pan. Like that will exist for a little while. But also know this ride ends fast. People,
it is gambling.
Yes, it is gambling, and you can, as somebody who has been in the bull, like I, you know, on paper lost a lot of money on one of these, even though I only put in so much. But I was at a huge gain, and I was like, "This is great! My whole life will be paid for by this thing." And a month later, it was back to what I had put in. Right. So I think this is where it's very easy when we talk about gambling to get stuck. And I would suggest to everybody listening to this, take out at least what you put in plus a little extra so you don't feel bad at the end of the day. Pigs get slaughtered. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And then, of course, on the back of the Pepe success, you just then get your heralds of the world jumping in.
Where people get wrecked, right? People get wrecked because they're chasing it. They're chasing it, and they like Wojak worked. And then Herald didn't. And there's 15 of those that won't. And people will they'll lose all their gains because they think they can go get the next one of these things.
And Wojak is the one I want to talk about, really only because it has a Beeple story. So I actually didn't realize this either. Wojak is the name, I guess I maybe did, but I've forgotten it. Wojak is the name of that like kind of very famous meme man character who like he's just like a line drawing essentially. If you go look it up, you'll recognize it. It's hard to, you know, verbalize. But people tweeted like, who's Wojaking off or something, which again, I almost would have told you it's too obvious a thing to pump to even have it pump. Like I'd almost have been like, nah, it's too, but it did. And
it did. And you know what? It's literally Nakamigos. It feels like the Nakamigos thing. Like Pepe's and all of this feels very Nakamigos-y. And the fact that people went in and tweeted about it, I was like, okay, like this is all the same. It's literally all just shit coins.
I find Nakamigos more interesting.
Yes, I think so too, but it just feels like some of the people, like I literally saw somebody going like, Pepe is life. Pepe is a meme and it will hold forever. Like this is a culture coin. We are going to go to the moon forever. Like in the same sort of talk of like the way people were talking about Nakamigos. And I was like, all right, this is not going to last, right? Like I can't even play. I won't even play. I can't. I'm losing it all. I'm losing generational wealth, but like I refuse to do it.
Exactly. I'll live with my non-generational wealth. I mean, Nakamigos felt more like it had that art. It had that identity. Like, I don't know. It feels like it has more to me. Like, I think it's interesting. Like I would even maybe consider Nakamigos at 0.28, except for that I won't connect my wallet to anything, so I can't do that. But you know, like,
you're out.
I'm out. That's it. Yeah. No, but whereas, you know, this is just so whatever. You know, my thought, because people came back to give like a, you know, not financial advice, all caps, like people need to learn that I'm not giving financial advice, kind of a tweet. Like I don't know how much clearer I can be about that. And I had sort of mixed feelings on it because I feel like on the one hand, yes, of course. And Beeple is allowed to be himself, and he's a weird dude. He's always been a weird dude. It's sort of like, you could argue, like, kind of not his fault. Like, he's a weird dude who got super famous. You know what I mean? And like, he's just still being himself and tweeting weird shit. And he has like a right to do that. And, you know, whatever. On the other hand, I do sometimes have, I'm torn because I'm also like, you know, you have influence. You know, if you tweet about something, shit's going to happen. Like, you know, like, what is your responsibility to be a little bit more responsible? And I'm gonna make a metaphor here that Gavin will laugh at because I try to bring Taylor Swift up as much as I can. And actually, there was interesting news recently, which is apparently she, you know, if FTX wanted her to come in and do a big deal, you know, be one of their celebrity sponsors. And apparently I don't know if this is true, but it was a lawyer who said this, like somewhere, that she was one of the few celebrities they talked to who was like, persuade me that this is not an unregistered security, and they couldn't, and so she didn't get it on the deal. This is like New Yorkers reporting this, like this is getting reported everywhere. I'm like, yeah, my girl. In any case, the point with Taylor Swift is one of the things I always liked about her was she always really recognized her position as a role model, and like through her career made decisions that were like, it doesn't matter like if I asked for this, like I'm in a position where people are looking up to me and I'm going to take that seriously and behave in certain ways like accordingly, even if that's unfair to me because I should be allowed to live my life and like whatever else. And so, you know, I feel mixed. Like people on the one hand, like, should you be more responsible? And on the other hand,
I don't want people to be anyone's role model. That's
exactly.
I don't know if I really
but he is.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he's an artist.
A figure. He's a figure in the space. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I think this is an interesting thing, Stevie, what you're saying that is like, what is, if you're an artist and a role model, like some of the greatest artists of all time, they were able to say what they say, but now the way that they share information, they say things, the influence is so much different because you're reaching a much broader audience, maybe? I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, you definitely have some responsibility to not completely move markets if you can, but he does have now this sort of history in doing that, and I don't think that he bought any, so
yeah, it's not like he's pumping and dumping his
it's
own
not
bags.
like he's pumping and dumping, right? But he's a troll. That's just kind of what he does. He stays on top of trends, and it makes perfect sense.
I think you're right, and I think don't take your financial advice from people, and if you are, like, again, you're gambling, just know what you're getting into. I mean, it's interesting. There was the lawsuit recently. I didn't follow it too closely, but Elon actually won a lawsuit because people were trying to, like, you know, basically accuse him of price manipulating. I think it was Doge or whatever, and it actually came to a judge, and a judge ruled in Elon's favor, which was basically like, this was a stupid tweet. And that doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, and like you sort of like reasonable people would look at this and not see this as like
as an
investment suggestion by Elon Musk, right? Like this is a man who's sounding off on Twitter like an idiot. So that was interesting. I think that's sort of, you know,
there's legal proof that Elon's tweets are idiotic now. That's pretty.
Yes, it was like I think there were some funny quotes out of it of just like, you know, like I don't think before I tweet, like I just fucking sound off or whatever. Okay, because do you have time to run a little long here, Stevie? I mean, I think we're already
long. Some time.
Otherwise, let's get into proof. Let's get to the more substantive stuff. Let me see if I can sound this off and tell me if I'm right. We talked about the many things you guys did at NFT NYC. You had some gallery activations happening here with, I think, Emily G, who's an art blocks artist, and there was you guys had private tours for proof holders on the Tyler Hobbs gallery, and then some of the events we talked about with people, for example. But then the other stuff is you have the Diamond exhibition, so you have news around the folks Diamond Nesters, which I'll ask you to talk to us about, and then Mythics. Are those sort of the big categories of news that we should be talking about? Is there anything I'm missing in all of that?
No. I mean, I think that's enough. I think that's a nice medium amount. But yeah.
By the way, congrats to the team. But it's a big week of stuff to put out. Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Big week
Thank you. Yeah. And Justin had to stay home. He wanted to just put those final touches on everything that was going on with Diamond. So we missed him in New York, but we were all working like super hard to make sure that we could launch this. We could go and celebrate, but make sure we could launch, on Monday, which is when everything kind of started hitting. So it's been a crazy week, but it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun.
I love it. So tell us, where do you want to start? Let's start with diamond nesting. Folks are probably familiar with the concept of nesting. It's staking with a fun bird twist. But it was also innovative. I remember when Kevin launched it, the concept was like, why does somebody who, for example, buys a Bored Ape yesterday get the same benefits, the same airdrop, ApeCoin airdrop, let's say, as somebody who bought an ape day one and has held since then? So that was sort of the premise behind nesting was if you buy into Moonbirds from day one or early and you stake it and nest it and therefore hold it, you'll get more rewards down the line than somebody who's new to the community and has been nesting for less time. So we're now at the year mark. So there are people who have been nesting their Moonbird since literally day one. You're one of them, Gav? You get one of these?
I have one Moonbird nested since day one, yes.
I'll talk a little bit more about it. Yeah, so nesting or, soft staking, we had these 4 tiers to just sort of like mark your time along until Diamond, right? So we had bronze, which was like a free hat and some stickers and like just a little fun thing that was for 30 days. We had silver, that was the famous fanny packs and the socks. Listen, we're still talking about it, so I'm here for the meme. That was I think 60 days. And then we had at 180 days, that was Gold Nest. That was a custom animation of your bird on an IO frame. It was, a beautiful work and a really cool partnership with one of our community artists who did that all by himself, which is amazing, who animated 10,000 birds. And then we got to Diamond Nest. And between gold and diamond, a lot of people wanted to know, what is our North Star? And I think, Moonbirds being the child of the Proof Collective, our next, release after Proof Collective has a lot of focus on art. We're supposed to be gathering 1,000 true art collectors. So naturally, it feels like it wasn't too hard of a jump for us to say our North Star, especially for Moonbirds, is to be the art collector's PFP, or to be this sort of signal. If you like to collect art, if you want to be here for a really long time, this is what it signifies, right? And to commemorate that whole thing, we are doing a diamond exhibition, which is effectively a free drop for all of the diamond nesters. And we have over 10,000 pieces for people to choose. We have 22 artists. 12 of them are generative. 10 of them are, a variety of different types of either series or editions. We've got I think a who's who of, emerging and really amazing OG artists.
Including
This
people?
is including people, right? So they're all different size editions. So Beeple's is, an edition of 100. But we have other ones that are generative pieces of 1,000 or generative pieces of, 400. And then we have a series. Series are specially curated. They're all individual, pieces, but they're not generative in that, it's just random what you pick out. The artist went through and curated the collection, and you'll get an individual piece for that as well. So I think over 90% of the entire collection are individual, unique pieces.
Wow.
So everyone is going to get a beautiful piece of art. And I'm so excited to be able to introduce, these artists to our community.
Yeah, me too. That's such a cool thing to be able to do. Stevie, I have one question as somebody who is a diamond nester. I have one I got cut off before, but what do this is probably just like me getting personal advice. What do I need to do in order to get this, and how does it reveal? I'm assuming there's some sort of randomization that will allow me, because if I'm going to go in, I'm going to choose a Beeple. Obviously, that's not the case, right? How does it work?
Okay, so you are a day one nester, so you have a little bit of an advantage over anybody else who hits diamond a little less than later than you. Okay. So you were already airdropped your day one pass. That was yesterday.
Good to know.
So you should
Is it called
see it
a
in your
choice
wallet.
pass?
It's called a choice pass, yeah. So we're going to call it the day one pass just to make things easier. But the difference between a regular mint pass and a day one mint pass is that day ones, in order to because we know everyone's going to go for the Beeple, right? And we don't want it to be a huge gas war. So, of course, our engineering team, they love to make things complicated and use math to make
they're
things
awesome,
as fair as possible.
What are their names?
God, they're amazing. Divergent. So Harry and Aaron.
Harry. She's amazing.
She's amazing. Yeah, they're great. And so what we're going to allow is for day ones to be able to rank choice all of the ones that they want. So all of the 22, you can make a choice. And of course, number one's going to be Beeple. And for all of those people who choose Beeple first, it will just be a random raffle. So I think it'll be good for you to actually take a look and see what you would rather have. If it's not the Beeple, pick that number 2 so that you can get what you want. And then so you'll burn that pass. Lock in your choices. You have 2 days between next Monday, the 24th or the 26th. And then on the 27th, the piece that you win will be airdropped to you.
That's
so
awesome.
You won't know what it is. Yeah. And then
I'm looking forward to Terrell Jones is one of the people too, right?
Yes,
Isn't he
who
I'm a giant fan of? Yeah, I love Terrell Jones's work. And I think that's something, one of the things I just love about what Proof is doing is I think it's such a nice pivot towards the things that just to go against what we were talking about before, really digging into art. And I know that the Proof Collective was always a big part of this. And I was a huge fan of what they're doing with Grails. And I think think we've talked about on this podcast, the Moonbirds thing has been an adventure, but we're here now, which is great.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that like, it's a very cool, clear message, right? Yeah. We're here for interesting new generative digital art, and we are going, if you collect with us, this is part of what we return to you. And like, that makes sense to me. Like, this is why Proof seems to make sense in a way that it wasn't in the last, like, say, 3 months in some ways.
For sure. And like, that is something that we're working on, is like making things as clear as possible. We're really, really making that focus. We've hired some, consultants to help us really tell those stories well. Obviously, we worked with Golden Wolf to create that beautiful video for Moonbirds on Diamond Nest. And we have another one coming around the Mythics burn as well. And so like, everyone really loved them. And so taking that time to really tell a story, I think, is super important. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. I don't know if you've seen the Terrell Jones piece.
I haven't. I have to go look at it. Is it
one
cool?
of the strongest pieces I've ever seen of him. All of the art is so good. Like, you just take a look at the Diamond Exhibition website. The art is there. It's like, they're all so good.
Good.
They're
I'm
so
excited.
good.
How many people are day one Diamond Nesters? Do you know?
Lot.
I know, it's too many. I was like,
So
how
that's
is
the
it this many
thing.
people? It's like 5,000 or something. Isn't it?
5,000?
Like that?
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like 4,600. It's a lot. It's a lot.
There's 10,000 Moonbirds?
Moonbirds. Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
So that's the thing. It's like, it's hard to,
God damn.
it's hard because, especially in real life, we see there's so many people who have been with us from day one. Honestly, the most common thing when I see or meet somebody for the first time, they go, day one nester, either minter or whatever, but that's always their badge of honor, day one nester. Like, that's most of the people who've been with us the whole time. And I know that they're like, I don't know why I did. I kind of wish I hadn't.
There's another badge
There's
of honor,
that
which
thing,
is like
bag holder.
held all the way.
Yes. I get it. Trust me. But it does feel really good. I think there is this sense of you've been through this ride. You want to see us win. You want to see it all work out. And that's the thing that we are fighting against, to always make sure that we deliver, so that these people who've been around, 4,600 people who've been around with us since day one, can really feel like it's worth it. And so I know we haven't even talked about Mythics yet, but it's also kind of in line with what we're doing with Talons, and being able to really reward people for being there that long. I think everyone was, expecting some sort of token, and this is sort of our way to start introducing that idea and start working on it with the, I see you getting more interested.
I'm getting closer. For the people who are listening, I'm getting closer and closer to the camera, trying to solicit with my eyes alpha on the token.
Yeah. So I think Kevin has described them as almost like airline points. So they will be, when they launched,
CC,
in a very
SEC.
beta. Yes, right?
They're airline points, Gary.
Yeah, there you go. This is just a beta. This is just a beta token just for our ecosystem. But, this makes sense, right? Like, there are certain things, we hear it all the time. Sometimes it's like, I don't know if a conference or an event would be something that I would want to go to. And then other people are like, this is the thing I love about Proof the most. Or I don't know if I like art. And other people are like, I love art. So this idea of being able to accrue these points, to be able to use them for more intimate, smaller, amazing opportunities that will allow us to actually create really, really good quality, whatever, offerings, private events, private dinners, smaller collections of art, limited edition merch, any of these things that we could potentially do, brand activations that we have, where we're working with, our BD team to really kind of make those partnerships that we do even stronger. And so there's a lot of different ways that we could take this.
So you're saying that's what the token will be?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
got it.
Yes, yeah. For that V1 launch. And so that will be within our own ecosystem, right? And then, who knows what'll happen in the future.
It reminds me of what Rave Chan talked about with the Memeland token, right? Part of this is like, how do you create a token that is less about speculation and less about putting it on the market as an open token, and more about a thing that actually delivers value back to the holders of the NFT? And I think, honestly, when I heard Kevin talk about Talons on the Spaces, and I was like, okay, I finally start to understand how this can be something really valuable for the collection, because he had even said like you can bid your token on these events, and it reminded me a lot of also how Gary Vee approached this space early on with VeeFriends, right? Because one of the Carly and I've talked about this, and Carly's a VeeFriends holder, but like one of the most brilliant things that Gary did in the beginning was like if you own a VeeFriend, you get there's a chance to get a one-on-one meeting with me, and like that is still probably the best utility that I've seen in NFTs, and like it's a cool way to see NFTs start to understand that the token can be something that isn't just about monetary value, and it can deliver back to the thing some way. And you're right, also Carly, like it's a side note of it can get around the SEC problems because it's less about like value.
We're not saying.
But I think the interesting thing though too, because Carly has pointed this out too, Carly, I'm curious what you think about this, is like these valuations, like Proof took a lot of money in on, they got money from, I'm not sure who invested, but there was VC money that was invested. A16. So the question becomes, and Carly's pointed out this many times, that a lot of these big VC rounds were led on the idea of a token out, right? Like that there would be tokens paid out, and now we're changing. So it'll be interesting to see how kind of that plays out too.
Yeah, I know nothing about that part. That seems
Would you like
a
to
lawyer,
comment on your venture
conversation.
backer, Stevie? And you got any dirt to spill on?
I'm just here for the cute art and the eggs and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I'm excited to talk about Mythics too. So first of all, one of the things that I felt was under the radar, and I wrote this in our newsletter recently, was the fact that Golden Wolf was behind it, and not to, pump another project while we're talking to you, but like I do think that, I still think that is an underrated part of Doodle's story, that they acquired that company that is like a premier animation studio, and so it's just interesting to see, it's a Doodle's own company at this point, and they're producing y'all's animation, which was fantastic, by the way, if folks haven't seen it.
So good. Oh my God.
Oh, it's amazing.
I have an almost 4-year-old, and he wanted to watch it like 10 times.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my God, he was obsessed.
Awesome. It was perfect. I have to say, like, because, and what's funny, I did not feel this about Apes, like the Trial of Jimmy the Monkey animation style.
Oh, you did it? Yeah. Oh, the style. I just didn't like
even the style. Like,
you didn't think that
in
the
general,
ending point of the monkey wasn't a childlike thing?
Well, and also the whole storyline. Yeah, it's so not me. And I said that at the time. I'm like, I get it. I guess there's an audience for this. Like, this is not my sensibility. But even the style of animation, it kind of wasn't my thing. And weirdly for me, it was sort of not what I was expecting. Like, I felt like that doesn't for me fit for some reason. I mean, but like what I felt like that should have been. And I had the exact opposite with the y'all's video. It totally fit, like the style of animation, what it looked like.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
It was so
like,
good.
This is so well done, and it fits for me what a Moonbirds origin story and mythology should look and feel like.
I think that one of the things that really sort of helped was, number one, Justin being like having a good relationship with Golden Wolf and knowing Golden Wolf, before even hiring them. Like, he's been in that world, in that graphic design world for years. And so he knew, what a top quality studio would be like. And I believe we started working with them even before the news of Doodles. So I don't think, but it's still amazing. It didn't surprise us when they announced it, right? But the other thing too is that we have 2 other artists on our team who are designing like Mythics. One of them comes from Lucasfilm. The other one has worked with Pixar and like just sort of deep in that animation world. And they all work together to create this. And so you can really see the heart of the people who are behind the rest of our art really kind of in here. And so it was just like a combination of like amazing minds who were just super passionate about the story. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was cool. And, I guess the way I think about this, and we didn't say this, Mythics, was teased. Was it last summer that we first went, or end of last year?
I think it was September, right?
September,
was it September
fall?
sometime?
Yeah. And
or like
so
late
here
August. Yeah.
Here we are.
And I'm an oddity holder, so I will probably be burning for a Mythic, because with Mythics, you have an opportunity to get one if you're a nester, and you also have the opportunity to burn an oddity for a Mythic. And these are intended as like PFPs for this ecosystem. It's 20,000, so it's more than Moonbirds, and like another entry point into the ecosystem. But I really, to me, what's almost most interesting is that it feels like it's the first time we're getting like storytelling. From so many of these other PFPs, like, Doodles, like you go down the line, these are all IP companies, and Proof has always sort of stood alone in maybe not being that, right? And then being art forward. But now it's interesting because now you're starting to get the story, you're getting to the story side of this art as well, which I think is interesting.
I think we're setting ourselves up for is to have these sort of choices that you can make, right? There is the Proof Collective. Eventually, they actually will turn into Moonbird Elders. I don't know if you heard that little piece of news.
Oh, I missed that.
So after the 3-year mark, which is how long they were supposed to go for, they will transition that community into another sort of PFP collection, right? So, but we have, 2 years or something like that for that to happen. But eventually, we'll have the elders will have, and that's a placeholder, by the way. We'll let them choose what the name is, but that's what it was. So we'll have that. We'll have Moonbirds and we'll have Mythics. So Moonbirds obviously are CC0. The main thing will be that they, get the full votes in our Lunar Society. They will get more access to more art and like doing everything that we kind of wanted to do with the Art Collectors PFP. Mythics actually has IP, will have commercial rights.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is interesting. So they won't accrue talons as much, as quickly as regular Moonbirds, and they have a little bit less voting power in our DAO. But there is a little bit added, sort of power there in that if you want to make that choice of you've got the Elders, you've got Moonbirds, and you've got Mythics, you can kind of, make that choice now. And so if you really want to do something with your IP, here's your opportunity. And I think it really works with the mechanism because it's a slow rollout. There won't be very many. And with the way that the Mythic eggs work is that if you have a legendary, you'll have 3 choices to choose from. So when you go in to burn your egg, it will show you 3 choices and you get to pick which one you mint. And so hopefully the thing that you mint is something that you feel like if you're interested in doing IP, this is something I actually could create a character out of.
Yeah.
This is something I could do something with. This is something I can relate to myself with. So you have that whole experience of doing it. It makes more sense than like a random mint and you just have to pick what you pick. And if you want to do IP, then this is just this thing. But you have these like wild characters. We're going to do a little sneak peek at some point today. There's one of them. I mean, they're all wild. They're crazy.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see
So I think it'll be really fun. So yeah, so that's the kind of difference between all the 3. And who knows? Who knows if it's an entry point or who knows if people will actually really highly value that because of the art style, the high fidelity style, all of that. I think it could just be like another arm, another, really cool collection for people.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing, which I had a lunch. I'm in Hollywood, and I had a lunch yesterday with some friends of mine that are in the production company business, and they're very worried about what's going on in Hollywood right now because the writer's strike is coming. They see a lot of the money that was in Hollywood to support, Hollywood productions going out. And one thing I've been thinking a lot about lately, and this has been a promise in Web3 for a while, but the idea that things like Doodles and Moonbirds could become like IP studios themselves, right? And I think this is where there's always been this dream that, I'm going to take the Azuki brand and go sell a Netflix show. Well, the world that's coming that is been built up by this creator economy is that individuals are the people that are going out and making material themselves and getting very famous. Like Mr. Beast is a perfect example of this, right, in the YouTube world. I think there's a future where companies like Proof or Doodles who are really executing well and can execute well on IP, at least in the future, have a chance to like take some of that slack away from where Hollywood it might fall down in the next couple of years. Yeah. And I think this is one of maybe the better use cases of Web3, right? If you think about it, if you can create an IP that's very strong and I as an individual get to be able to execute and use my own IP, there's so much value in that as a creator. When I say, like imagine a world where one of the largest YouTube creators, and we're still a ways away from that because of the NFT world of it all, but if one of the largest YouTube creators takes their Moonbird, or sorry, not their Moonbird, their Mythic. And makes a thing out of it, like that is a massive opportunity both for that person and for the collection itself. And this could go for Doodles or any of these things. Yeah. But I think that might be the kind of like second secret kind of utility to NFTs in this space. And Carly, I think we've talked a lot about how NFTs mainstream, and maybe this is part of it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe this is part of the way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny. I recorded an episode yesterday with John Rogers, the third, or you could maybe call it the 4th episode of Blockbuster, which is a recurring series we're doing, really just looking at NFTs in the context of entertainment and a lot of Hollywood, because that's John's background, obviously, and he's great. And we really dove into NFTs and their role, or what their role could be in the development process for studios, in terms of like a really interesting testing ground for developing IP and having these opportunities to put different IP out, see what people resonate with on an NFT level, and then deciding you're going to take that piece of IP to the next level of development, which could be a children's book series, which is very common in how IP gets like whatever. And I think it's really interesting. And, you know, John talks a lot about first look deals, which would be applicable for something like this. Like, these studios need to be trying to sign these first look deals with a Mythics or a, you know, y'all probably not what y'all want to do right now, right? But like it's really interesting. We sort of get into that. So tune in to Overpriced JPEGs next Wednesday for to hear more about that. But so cool, Stevie. I'm like, it's nice to feel like there's like some stabilization, you know, and I feel like people are kind of excited about what's happening at Proof again. And you know, I certainly don't need to tell you there was some touch and go weeks there. What?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's still, it's not there anymore, but I do think that we are the people who are, you know, wanting to jump in now are the ones who know exactly what to expect and what that future looks like, right? Ironically, there's even more that people don't know of what we're working on, but that's awesome. It'll keep a nice little surprise, but at the very least, you have this lane that you can go down and feel good about, right? So I'm feeling super, super excited for that PEPE money to come right back in.
And on that note, Stevie, this was so fun. Thank you so much for joining. I would absolutely love to have you back. Gavin, thank you as always, but you know, you're always here, you know.
No, I would, Stevie's the one who should be thanking.
You know, I pay you.
Exactly.
No,
Gavin,
truly,
we'll have to meet.
Stevie.
We'll have to meet up at some point for sure.
Yeah,
You're
for
here.
sure. Absolutely.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
I'm gonna
Absolutely.
FOMO. Sad. Come to New York. Well, you were just here. I can't believe I didn't see you in New York. I was
know.
at
I
the
didn't even
Transient
know you were
Labs
there.
Proof event, and I
even
totally
know
missed
you
you. I
were
saw Mal briefly. I saw certainly Sam. I was hanging out with, but I didn't see you.
Oh well.
I will shout out
But
really
I'm
quick.
convinced Kevin is an AI. Kevin is not real. The number of times I've been at Proof things, including the Grails filming, that Kevin was supposed to be like leading, and he's not there.
He's very sick. Yeah,
I know. That's the story. No, I know he was actually very sick. But it is wild. He's a phantom. He doesn't actually. He's not real.
Yeah.
Not real.
No, he should have come to People. Why didn't you come to People?
I had a dinner. I was at like kind of a private dinner thing, and then it went long, and then it was deep in Brooklyn, y'all. You realize like you guys were like deep in there, and I was like, it's like a 45-minute Uber ride, and it was like 11 already, and I was like, no.
Oh, it was so fun. But anyway,
Where was it?
It looked fun.
Silo.
Brooklyn.
This place called Silo in Brooklyn. It was really cool though. It was dope.
Yeah, I miss Brooklyn. I live there. I love Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn. Great place to live.
Yeah.
But inconvenient when it's a 45-minute Uber ride away from
True.
you all.
Very true.
100%,
Very true.
100%.
Very true.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, this is great. Thank you so much again. And
Thank you.
Everyone have a good weekend. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.